previous lecture, we have discussed about the characteristics of the power supply, and in that case, we have defined what is the load regulation, line regulation. Then we have seen the three different parameters of a power supply, that is a stability factor, output resistance, and the temperature coefficient. So when we design any kind of a regulator circuit, then we have to calculate what is the stability factor and the output resistance. So today we are going to discuss about a simple regulator circuit, and that is known as a Zener voltage regulator. In a first year, already we have learned the characteristics of a Zener diode, and here we will discuss how we can use these characteristics to keep the output voltage constant of a power supply. So first of all, if you see, what is the difference between the characteristics of a avalanche diode and the Zener diode? So the characteristics of the avalanche diode is this, and if you look at the characteristics of a Zener diode, it is like this. This is a avalanche diode. And this is the characteristics of a Zener diode. So basically, if you see, then in both the case, the forward bias characteristics is almost the same. In avalanche diode, the forward bias characteristics means as we increase the voltage, the current is also increasing, and after some voltage, it is increasing linearly. And whatever the current is there, it is in order of a milliampere. So the forward bias current in avalanche diode is in milliampere. The same way, if we see the forward bias characteristics for a Zener diode, then here also this forward bias current is also in order of a milliampere. But there is a difference in the reverse characteristic. In avalanche diode, if we increase the reverse bias voltage 5 volt, 10 volt, 15 volt, then whatever the current is flowing, this current is in order of a microampere. Remember, it is in order of microampere. And at certain voltage, the current is suddenly increasing. And whatever the current is increasing, again it is in order of a microampere. But if you look at this characteristics of a Zener diode, then as we increase the reverse bias voltage, a 1 volt, 2 volt, 3 volt and 5 volt, then here at 5 volt, suddenly there is a breakdown. And whatever the current is flowing, that current is in order of a milliampere. Means here in a avalanche diode, the reverse bias current is in order of microampere. In a Zener current, the reverse bias current is in order of a milliampere. Then second difference, if you see that here whatever the breakdown voltage is there, after the breakdown voltage the current is also increasing, but there is not, it is not a sharp breakdown. Here you have some kind of a curve is there. While in case of the Zener diode, if you see at particular voltage, the current is suddenly increasing and we have a sharp rise in a current. Sharp rise in a current is there. Here the sharp breakdown is not there. So this is the difference between a avalanche diode and the Zener diode. But what is the important thing? Here we have a sharp breakdown as well as whatever the current is flowing in a reverse bias, that is in order of a milliampere. So this is the difference between the avalanche and the Zener diode. So here in Zener, forward bias current is in milliampere, reverse bias current is also in milliampere, and therefore we are using a reverse bias characteristic for making a regulator circuit. Now, why this breakdown is occurring? Here, whatever the breakdown is there, that is known as a avalanche breakdown. in the Zener diode, whatever the breakdown is there, it is called a Zener breakdown. So here we will discuss what is the Zener breakdown, and then we will go for the application of a Zener diode. So if you look at this a p-n junction, then we have a p-type material, n-type material is there, and near the junction the depletion region is there. Okay. Here we have a depletion region. In p-type material, already you know there are three holes. So whatever the white dots is there, it is indicating the free holes. And in n-type material, this orange dot is indicating a free electrons. But near the junction, we have a depletion region. Means there is no free electron, there is no free hole. And here whatever the things are there, it is a ions. Ions are there. Now when we apply, ions means they are a heavy ions, so they cannot move freely. So now when we apply the reverse bias, reverse bias means the p-type is connected to a negative of the battery and the n-type is connected to a positive of the battery. Then what will happen? That here near the junction, whatever the region we have, this region we call this a depletion region. Remember. Correct? Now the width of the depletion region is very small in case of the Zener diode. Here we are talking about the Zener diode. Remember. So in a Zener diode, the impurity is very high. Means either in a silicon or germanium material, the added impurity, that the trivalent or the pentavalent impurity is very high. So the concentration of the impurity is large. And due to this large impurity, the width of the depletion region is very small. Is small, and here we can say this width is in order of a 100 angstrom to a 200 angstrom. Very small width is there. Now when we apply a electric field, means we apply a reverse bias voltage, then there will be an electric field across this depletion region. Here, when this negative is there, so this is going to be a negative, 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 and here we have positive, positive, and positive, and there will be a kind of a electric field. This electric field will be in this direction. So whatever the ions are there, these ions are in a electric field. Now, if you calculate the value of the electric field, then this will be approximately E is equal to, let us say my applied voltage. My applied voltage is V. So the formula for the electric field is V by D. And my applied voltage is 2 volt. And the width of the depletion region, if you take a 100 angstrom, then this electric field will be a 2 into 10 raised to, so here it is a 10 raised to minus 8. And minus 8 means that 10 raised to 6. 10 raised to 6 volt per meter. Okay? The angstrom minus 8 and minus 10. So this electric field is a 2 into 10 raised to 6 volt per meter, or you can say it is 2 into 10 raised to 8 volt per centimeter. So when we apply the reverse bias voltage, then the electric field across the depletion region is very high. Now due to this, what will happen? Here in the depletion region, remember, we have this ion, and here in this ion, the impurity ions, let us say we have the aluminium. then the silicon is there. The silicon is there. Here it is a aluminum atom is making a covalent bond with the silicon. Here also it is making a covalent bond with the silicon, and then also this silicon is making another covalent bond with this aluminum, and like this. So we have this kind of structure. Correct? Now already you know what is the covalent bond. Now in this covalent bond, here the aluminum electron and the silicon electrons are there. Same way here there is a pair of the electrons like this. So number of the covalent bonds are there. Now when you apply the electric field, means the electric field is going to be appear across this atom. And let us say this is a negative and here we have a positive. So the electric field, this electric field is 2 into 10 raised to 8 volt per centimeter, and this electric field is very high. So due to this electric field, there is a force. Here the fields of the electron, electric field will be in this direction. So due to this electric field, the force on the electron will be F is equal to E into E. Right? And this force is very large. So automatically this electron or this electron will come out and become a free. Same way here also. This electric field is acting on this electron, so there is a large force on this, and this electron is coming out and become a free electron. So when we apply only a small voltage of a 2 volt, then the large electric field is going to be produced in a depletion region, and this electric field is sufficient to break the covalent bond. And due to this breaking of the covalent bond, the electrons are going to be a free. And due to this, you have a large number of the free electrons in the depletion region. And this large number of the electrons will form a current. That is a reverse current, reverse bias current. And this current is in order of a milliampere. So here this is known as a Zener breakdown mechanism. So when you apply a small voltage, 1 volt, 2 volt, 4 volt or a 5 volt, then this breakdown is going to be occur. In a avalanche breakdown, what will happen? Whatever the width of the depletion region is there, it is very large. So you have to apply a large amount of the reverse bias voltage, and that breakdown will be occur at a 50 volt, 100 volt or 200 volt, and in that case the current will be in order of a few microampere. So this is the difference between a Zener breakdown and the avalanche breakdown. Now let us see the characteristics. Here, okay. Try to understand these characteristics. So, at a particular voltage, the breakdown is occurring, and that voltage is known as a Zener voltage. Remember, at which voltage the breakdown is occurring, it is known as a Zener voltage. Now, if you look at this characteristic, at this point, let us say this is a 1 volt, 2 volt, and here the breakdown is occurring at a 5 volt. So, in this region, whatever the current is flowing, that current is very small. Means that before the breakdown, the flow of the current is negligible. It is in order of microampere. But after the breakdown, the current is flowing in order of a milliampere. Now we have to look at this. Whenever the breakdown is occurring, at that time whatever the the current is flowing in the zener diode, this current we call that as a IZT. Means it is a knee current. Here we have this kind of a knee, and at that time the flow of the current is that it is a knee current. Sometimes we also we call this as a minimum or the minimum zener current. Here we call this as the IZ minimum. Means when you are operating a diode in a reverse bias, then minimum this much amount of the current has to be flow, then only the breakdown is going to be occur. And then here the current is suddenly go on increasing, then we have a at this point a maximum current, it is IZ, called a IZ maximum. Now if you pass more than this current, then your zener is going to be damaged. Means the zener diode has also some power dissipation capacity, and from the power dissipation capacity you can calculate what is the IZ maximum. You should not pass more than this, otherwise your zener diode is going to be damaged. So if you calculate this power dissipation, then the power dissipation, maximum power dissipation, we can write as a Vj into a IZ maximum. Or you can calculate what is the maximum current of the zener diode, that Pj maximum divided by a Vz. So in the market, the zener diodes are available with a different power dissipation capacity. Remember, the same breakdown voltage. If I will take a zener diode of a 5 volt, then this 5 volt is, this zener diode is available here. If I will take a 5 volt zener diode, then it is available with the Pj maximum of a 400 milliwatt. It is also available with the 1 watt. It is also available with the 2 watt. And from that you can calculate what is the maximum current capacity of the zener diode. So suppose I have a zener diode of a 5 volt with the power dissipation capacity of 1 watt, then here you can calculate Pz maximum divided by Vz. So 1 watt divided by a 5 volt, and then you can calculate, so 1 by 5 is 0.2, or you can say means the maximum current capacity of this zener diode is 200 milliampere. Correct? So you cannot pass more than this. So when we design the regulated circuit, at that time we should know what is the maximum current of a zener diode. Then second thing also you should remember that if the current in the zener diode is less than IZK or the minimum, then here you will not get a constant output voltage. The zener is not going to be in a breakdown region. So when we use the zener diode, then this is our a normal operating region. It should be operate between the IZ minimum to a IZ maximum. Minimum current has to be passed. Let us say this minimum current is a 5 milliampere and maximum current is a 100 milliampere. Then the current in a zener should not be less than 5 milliampere, or it should not be greater than a 100 milliampere. So this is very important when we design the regulator circuit. Now if you see how this zener diode is used as a voltage regulator. So we know that for a unregulated power supply, remember, in unregulated power supply, as we increase the load current, then my DC voltage is go on decreasing. This is a variation in a unregulated power supply. So when this load current is 0, then we have a maximum current or maximum voltage, let us say a 10 voltage there. Then we have a 20 milliampere, this is a 40 milliampere, and somewhere here it is a 100 milliampere. Okay? So in a ordinary power supply, as we increase the current, the voltages go on decreasing. But if you look at its characteristics, that if this current is 20 milliampere, here somewhere here the current is 20 milliampere, then what is the voltage across the diode? It is a 5 volt. Correct? If I am increasing the current from a 20 to 40 milliampere, this is a 40 milliampere. Again, if you see the voltage across the diode is almost a 5 volt. Now, if we go up to a 100 milliampere, then also if you see the voltage across the diode, and that is also a 5 volt. So, when I am using a Zener diode, and if I will vary the current from 20 milliampere to 100 milliampere, this voltage here it is going to remain constant. So there is a variation in the current, but the voltage is constant. Here in our case, what will happen? That when we vary the current, the voltage is changing. So due to this characteristics, reverse bias characteristics of a diode, it can be used as a voltage regulator. Correct? Now, second important thing you should know that whatever the diode we have, always this diode, when we are talking about a ordinary diode, then it has a forward bias resistance RF, and that is something about a 50 ohm or to a 100 ohm will be there. It's a forward bias resistance. Correct? Same way, the Zener diode has also some resistance, and that resistance you can find out by taking the slope of this here. Here, if you draw the characteristics, then it is like this. Correct? Reverse bias characteristics. This is my a Zener voltage, reverse bias voltage. This is a Zener current. It is in order of milliampere, and this is the breakdown voltage Vz. Now, if you want to find out what is the resistance of this Zener diode, then you can find out the slope of this. So, if you take the slope, then here this is representing a change in the Zener current, and this is representing a change in the Zener voltage. So, here you can see there is a large change in the Zener current, but the Zener voltage is hardly changing in order of a millivolt. So if we calculate the resistance, then Rz is given as delta Vz by delta Iz. My delta Vz is, as you can see, it's very small. Let us say it is a 0.1 volt, and the variation in the current here, variation in this current is, let us say, a 50 milliampere. So 50 into 10 is to minus 3. Then if you calculate this resistance, then it will come out to be 10 is to minus 3 means minus 2, 10 is to, so here it is a 1 by 5, or let us say a 1000 divided by a 500. So this will be hardly a 2 ohm resistance is there. Means this is known as a dynamic resistance of a Zener diode. it is very small compared to a average diode. In average diode, it is in order of a 50 ohm to 100 ohm is there. Here it is only a 2 ohm. So again, this dynamic resistance is very small, and therefore it is also useful for making a regulated power supply. Because in a regulated power supply, your output resistance of the power supply should be as low as possible. Okay? So I think so. Here it is very clear that for a regulated power supply, you should know what is the RZ. First of all, you should know what is the Zener breakdown voltage, then what is a IZ minimum current, then IZ maximum current, and what is the PZ maximum, and then the RZ. So once you take any Zener diode, then you should know this much parameter, then only you can design the regulator circuit. So now let us see a voltage regulator circuit. Now try to understand the circuit. Here we are applying a unregulated power supply. The positive terminal and negative terminal is there. Then we have a series resistance and the Zener diode. This Zener diode here it is connected in a reverse bias. This is the anode of the Zener diode and this one is the cathode of the Zener diode. Anode is connected to negative and the cathode is connected to positive. It means the Zener diode is connected in a reverse bias mode. And parallel to the Zener diode, our load resistance is there, and across the load resistance we have this output voltage. This is the positive of the power supply, and this one is the negative of the power supply. Sometimes this is also known as a shunt voltage regulator. Why? Because the Zener diode is connected in parallel to the RL, therefore it is known as a shunt voltage regulator. Now, for the designing of this power supply, you have to calculate what is the series value of the series resistance and what should be the value of the Zener diode. So, first of all, the selection of the Zener diode, if you see, then suppose if I want to make a power supply of a 5 volt, then I have to select the Zener diode which has a breakdown of a 5 volt. Suppose you want to make a power supply of a 12 volt, then you have to select the Zener diode having a breakdown voltage of your 12 volt. Means when you are selecting the diode, then the breakdown voltage must be equal to your output, required output voltage. Vz must be equal to a VO. That means specified. Then also we have to see what is the power dissipation. That we will calculate later on. Then how to calculate the value of Rs. Now here in this case, if you see, when I am applying a input voltage Vi, then there is a flow of a current through this Rs. This current is, let us say, I. Now here we have a junction, so the current is going to be divided. So some of the current is passing through the Zener diode. We call this as a IZ. Then whatever the remaining current is there, it is passing through this load resistance, and we call this as a load current IL. It means my total current I consists of a Zener current plus a load current IL. Correct? So here we have this, that the current I is equal to IZ plus IL. Now we applied a Kirchhoff's law. Means here is the output load. here we can write that here from negative to positive, so the equation will be a Vi minus, okay, sorry, I have to write it again. Here the current is a I is equal to a Iz plus IL. Correct? Now we apply the Kirchhoff's law. So you are moving from negative to positive. So this equation is a Vi minus. Now what is the drop across the Rs? So I into Rs will be there. Minus at this point we have a output voltage from positive to negative. So it is minus Vo and this is equal to 0. So we want to calculate the Rs. So Rs is equal to, we can write Vi minus Vo divided by I, or we can say Vi minus Vz. Remember, our output voltage and the general voltage both are same because they are in parallel. This is my general voltage Vz. So Vi minus Vz divided by Iz plus IL. So using this formula, one can calculate the value of Rs. Now let us see that how this circuit is giving a constant output voltage if I will change the load resistance or if I will change my input voltage. So here we take the first case, that if RL is variable. Now to understand this, here also we will consider the characteristics of a generator. Now RL is variable means here what will happen? Due to this, this load current IL will also change. RL is variable means the IL is also a variable. Try to understand this. Now we consider, let us take one example, that my input current here, my input current is a 100 milliampere. Some of the current is in a zener diode, let us say it is a 50 milliampere, and the remaining 50 milliampere is passing through the load resistance Rf. Again, take my total current. I am taking a simple example. Total input current is 100 milliampere. 50 milliampere is passing in a zener diode, and 50 milliampere is passing in a load resistance Rf. Now, if we change the Rf, okay. Now, I take here, when this load current Iz is 50 milliampere, then if you see, what is the voltage across the generator? Here, suppose my zener voltage is of a 5 volt. Zener voltage is a 5 volt. And if I am taking this characteristic where the Vz is equal to a 5 volt. Correct? Now, at this moment, how much current is passing through the zener? It is a 50 milliampere. So, if you look at this as a characteristic, somewhere here we have a 50 milliampere. At that time, what is the voltage across this? It is a 5 volt. Here, if you see, then we can say 50 milliampere. Then the voltage across the zener is 5 volt. Means the output voltage is also a 5 volts. Here I will write, when this load current IL is 50 milliampere, Iz is also a 50 milliampere, and the output voltage is 5 volt. Correct? Now I am changing the RL. am decreasing the RL. So RL is going to decrease. Then what will happen? Load current will increase. So let us say my new load current become a 70 milliampere. New load current is a 70 milliampere. Now remember here in this expression I is equal to Iz plus IL. Here the I depends on what? Vi. Remember that depends on Vi. My Vi is constant. So the current I will be also a constant. Vi is constant. So the I is also going to be a constant. But in our case, IL is going to increase. So it means the Iz has to decrease. Because the total current I has to remain constant. So whatever the amount, my load current is increasing, by the same amount, my Zener current will decrease. So here if it is a 70 milliampere, now this become a 30 milliampere. So here if this current is a 70 milliampere, now the Zener current is reduced to a 30 milliampere. Correct? Now look at this characteristics. If the Zener current is at a 30 milliampere, then again what is the voltage? It is a 5 volt. It is a 5 volt. Means the output voltage is again a 5 volt. Then let us increase the RL. Increase the RL. So naturally the load current is going to decrease. Here if it is decreased to a 20 milliampere. Then again the total current has to remain constant. So now this load current is decreasing. So here instead of 70 milliampere, now load current become a 20 milliampere. So what should be the now Zener current? Iz must be equal to a 80 milliampere. So now the current in the Zener is not a 30 but it is a 80 milliampere. And for the 80 milliampere, if you see this, here if we have a Zener current of 80 milliampere, again if you see, then the voltage across the Zener is 5 volt. So VO is equal to a 5 volt. So here you can see I am changing my load current from 30 milliampere to 80 milliampere. Here it is a 30 milliampere and here it is a 80 milliampere. Then the output voltage is almost constant at a 5 volt. This is output voltage. So with the variation from 30 to 80, output voltage is constant. So in this way, if we change the RL, then in a certain region, remember, in a certain region, then the output voltage is going to remain constant. So this is one of the regulation. Now if I will see, so this is you can find out what is the load regulation of the power supply. You know that load regulation means the output voltage depends on a load current, where a change in the voltage you can calculate the load regulation. Okay? Now we will see line regulation. Line regulation means what? Where we are changing the input voltage and what is the change in the output, that we have to see. So what is the second case? second case means the VI is variable. Here, whatever the input voltage is there, but we are keeping constant RL is constant. RL is constant means the IL is also a constant. So now this load current IL become a constant. Now if we change the voltage, so here we know that the current I is given by Ij plus IL, correct? And we are changing the input voltage. So input voltage, let us say, increase. Remember, input voltage is increasing. Then here in this expression, what will happen? That IL is a constant quantity. But due to this input voltage increase, the current I is also increase. And current I is increasing, and due to that, what will happen? The Iz will also increase. Why the Iz is increasing? Because the load current IL is constant. So again try to understand, if my input voltage is increasing, the total current I is also increasing, and as a result the general current will also increase because the IL is constant. So whatever the amount your input voltage is changing, the same amount the general current will also change. So again we take this example. Then let us say my input voltage is a 9 volt. General voltage is a 5 volt. Here the 50 milliampere current is there. Here 50 milliampere current is there. Correct? And at that time my output voltage is 5 by 50 milliampere. The output voltage is 5 volts. Correct? Now, let us say my input voltage reduced from a 9 volt to a 8 volt. 9 volt to 8 volt. So what will happen? That your total current will decrease. So if this input voltage decrease, then the total current decrease. Total current decrease means IL is constant, so the Iz will also decrease. So now let us say when the input voltage is a 8 volt, this 100 milliampere current is reduced to a 90 milliampere. But here the 50 milliampere is constant, so the current in a zener will be a 40 milliampere. And if you look at the characteristics, for a 40 milliampere, again what is the voltage across the zener? It is a 5 volt. So my input voltage is decreased, but still the output voltage remain constant. Same thing. Here input voltage increased to a 10 volt. Then naturally this total current will increase to 110 milliampere. But the load current is constant, so then whatever the current is changing, that change will be in a zener current, and this current become a 60 milliampere because the total current has to be 110. So this is 50, this is 60, 110 milliampere is there. So for a 60 milliampere of a zener current, again if you see the zener is a 5 volt. So in this way, if my input voltage will increase or decrease, accordingly the zener current will increase and decrease, and the voltage across the zener will always remain constant. So here we have seen the two different cases, that if we vary the RF and how the output voltage is remaining constant. Now if we vary the input voltage, then how the output voltage is going to remain constant. Now we will see the designing part. Okay. So now come back to this expression, that the value of Rs is given by Vi minus Vz divided by Iz plus Il. Now remember, here we have not the idea that Il is maximum or it is a minimum. Whenever we design the circuit, we have to design the circuit for the worst condition. Worst condition or the extreme condition of a power supply. So what is one of the extreme condition? Extreme condition means that load current is maximum and my input voltage is minimum. Remember, here the one of the worst condition, you can say that the input is minimum and at that time I want a load current maximum. Correct? So in that case, what should be the value of Rs? So here we can write this, or we can modify this formula as the Rs is equal to Vi minimum minus Vz divided by. Now you recall that if my input voltage will decrease, then the zener current will also decrease. If the input voltage will be a minimum, then my zener current is also going to be a minimum. So here I have to consider the minimum value of the zener current. And when the zener current is going to be a minimum, but so at that time the load current is going to be a maximum, because the total current I has to be remain constant. So here the one of the worst condition, input voltage is minimum, load current is maximum, then you can calculate this value of Rs as a Vi minimum minus Vz divided by Iz minimum plus Il maximum. What is another worst condition? That if the input voltage is maximum, then and my load current is minimum. Remember, load current is minimum. So with the large input voltage, my current is less. And here we can modify this formula as Vi maximum minus Vz divided by the load current is minimum. So naturally the zener current will be a maximum. So Iz maximum plus Il minimum. Okay? Now if you calculate this, then in this case here the difference is large, so the resistance value will be a maximum. Here the difference is going to be a small, so this resistance value is going to be a minimum. Okay? So these are the worst conditions. And actually when we design, then what should be the value of Rs? I have to consider the Rs maximum or Rs minimum. If it is a fix, means if you are in your requirement, if you are going to draw a large amount of the current, then you can use the Rs minimum value. But if it is going to be a variable, then here the value of Rs we can take as average Rs maximum plus Rs minimum divided by 2. That will give you the average value. Okay? So in this way, you can select the value of Rx. Now, when you are selecting the Zener diode, remember, then here the selection of Zener diode, then the breakdown voltage of the Zener diode must be equal to your required output voltage. That Zener value you have to select. Now sometimes if that value of the Zener is not available, means suppose your requirement of this voltage VO is a 12 volt and this required Zener voltage will be also a 12 volt. But if this diode is not available, then you can use a number of the Zener diode with a less breakdown voltage. So you can have Vj of a 6 volt and connect both the Zener diode in series like this. So this is a 6 volt, this is a 6 volt. So now the breakdown voltage is going to be a 12 volt. So you can have this kind of a combination in your power supply if particular value of the Zener is not available. Okay. Now second thing, that when you are selecting the Zener diode, then you should know the power dissipation. That Pz maximum is given as Vz into Iz maximum. Sometimes what will happen, that your required current or required power dissipation is, let us say it is a 800 milliwatt and you have used a Zener diode of a 400 milliwatt. Your calculation, your design is correct, but you have not selected a proper Zener of a proper power dissipation, and then in that case your Zener diode will be damaged immediately, and therefore you have to calculate that what is the required power dissipation in the Zener, and accordingly you have to select that Zener diode. And for that you should know what is my Iz maximum, and that Iz maximum you can calculate from this formula. Remember, here in this case Iz maximum is there, so you can write that the Iz maximum will be equal to here Vi maximum minus Vj divided by Rs, Iz minus IL minimum. Remember, using this formula you can find out the maximum value of the Zener current. You put it here and you can calculate the power dissipation in the Zener, and accordingly you can select the Zener. Suppose here power dissipation, a Pj maximum comes out to be a 700 milliwatt. It doesn't mean that you have to use a Zener diode of exactly 700 milliwatt. You can use the Zener diode which has a power dissipation of a 1 watt or a 2 watt, because the 700 milliwatt, that kind of a diode is not available in the market. It is available with the 1 watt or 2 watt. Then if you use this higher wattage of the Zener diode, then it is a good, because your circuit is going to be stable and it is not going to be damaged. So higher power dissipation Zener diode we can use, but we cannot use a Zener diode with the lesser power dissipation. Okay? So when you design the circuit, you should know the value of Rs, you should know what will be the Vz and what is the Pz maximum. Now in the next lecture, we will discuss about the stability factors, and we can have a few numericals on a Zener